Chapter 8. My next counseling session was excruciating. I explained what had happened, which forced the issue of disclosing myself to my children to the forefront. She responded, "If you want a relationship with Toni to work, you have to put this issue to bed. It's still eating you up and it's keeping you from opening yourself up to loving someone again. She loves you. She said it and, more importantly, she's shown it. If you want, I'll meet with her, either individually or with you, if you'll agree to let me discuss you with her. I know you are afraid of ever forming a new loving relationship, lest you be hurt as a result. You need to get over your fears and take a chance. If you don't, you'll be a hollow shell of a person the rest of your days. And by the way, I think she's correct about how your children will respond if they don't receive the letters until after you are dead. It will hurt them far worse than finding out that you continued to love them even after they were taken away." We called Toni from the counselor's office. She agreed to meet with my counselor the following week. I would be there for part of the session. Toni and my counselor would speak alone for the other part. Unlike the usual schedule, we booked 2 hours of time for that meeting. That evening, Toni called me. Molly's husband George had reached out to her and wanted to speak to both of us. He wanted to meet us without Molly. He would arrange to meet after hours in his offices, so we could speak in private and with complete candor. Toni asked me if I would agree to the meeting as a special favor to her. Until last week, Molly had been her best friend and George had been particularly helpful and supportive during Toni's divorce. George ran a large construction company. We met him at his offices at 6 p.m. He showed us into a conference room and closed the door. Then he started talking. "My wife tells me she has done something terrible that hurt both of you but won't tell me what it is. She tells me it's irreparable and has ended your friendship. She is miserable and miserable to be around. She cries all the time. My kids are avoiding her like the plague and I'm finding excuses not to go home. The other girls have cut her off. She is, or at least was, your best friend Toni. You've had differences before, but you've always worked them out. For the sake of my family's happiness and my marriage, can you tell me what she can do to fix this? Please." Toni took the lead. "George, you know how much I love Molly. She's been my rock for longer than I can remember. You and she helped me through my divorce. I'm not sure how I could have gotten through it without your support. This is the first time you've met Tommy. Molly has probably told you that I've been seeing him for a while. Tommy has some issues in his past that he's not comfortable sharing with anyone. Molly decided to go digging. I specifically asked her not to do that. She ignored my request. She found out what those issues are, then told the rest of the girls. Tommy and I both view what she did as an invasion of his privacy and a breach of our trust. Her actions forced Tommy to discuss those issues with me long before he was ready. Her actions put my relationship with Tommy at risk and have poisoned his relationship with my friends. What she did was unforgivable. I don't know how you repair something like that." George sat there for a while. "Damn," he said. "My wife really screwed the pooch this time. I've known her to do some stupid things, but this one takes the cake. The only defense I have for her actions is that she loves you and wanted to make sure you were protected. I know that's a weak excuse, but it's the only thing I can think to say in her defense. I'm sorry this happened. I know how hard a request this is, but can you please forgive her? If not for her sake, for mine. For my kids." "That would depend on whether Tommy is willing to let this pass," Toni replied. Both then looked at me. "George," I said, "I don't know you from Adam, but I do know that you and Molly were there for the woman I love when she needed support. The two of you mean a lot to Toni. I can forgive Molly for Toni's sake, but I'll have a hard time trusting her ever again. I'm sure you understand where I come from. Trust is a coin that can only be spent one time. Once it's gone forever. If Toni is willing, Molly can come back into our lives, but I don't think the relationship will be the same for a long, long time, if it ever is. George thanked us for our time, said he'd discuss what we'd concluded with Molly, and we left his offices. As we were walking out, Toni turned to me and said, "Did I hear you say what I think I heard you say?" "What's that?" "That you love me?" "I guess I did, didn't I?" It kind of popped out. It's not the way I'd have wanted to tell you if I'd thought about it, but yes, darling Toni, I think I love you. It's a lot for me to process, and I'm sure we'll have an interesting conversation with the counselor next week, but maybe we should begin thinking about where we go long term. With that, I grabbed her in my arms and kissed her. She definitely kissed back. We stood there, breathless, kissed again, and walked to the car to drive back to my apartment.